Alright guys, HyDra again today. Hope you're all doing well and enjoying your day. So far, a big day for those of us who enjoy drama in the Call of Duty landscape with some big storylines emerging, but the New York Subliners upset by an absolute Gwinn masterclass from the Carolina Ravens, but also Texas will be hosting the World Championship in just a couple of months' time, not just as the venue, but actually OpTic will host the event as effectively their own event. Scrappy isn't so sure this should be allowed. Lots of reaction to it, and understandably so. Very much interested in your thoughts in the comments below. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you're new as always, I'd greatly appreciate it. We shall dive straight into that. So as OpTic say, home sweet home, welcome to Champs 2024, July 18th through to the 21st at the, well, it's the Credit Union of Texas Event Center. Now, I'm almost certain this was going to be at the American Airlines Center, which is the Mavs event, or like the Mavs Stadium, I think, which is literally right next door to the OpTic HQ. I'm pretty sure that was happening. There may be various reasons why they can't get that event in that time frame. I know that I googled about this and they talked about some renovations they're doing. So yeah, we'll see whether that's, you know, affecting things. But of course, this video is actually quite a way out of the center. We'll have a look at Google Maps here in a second. But yeah, nonetheless, this has been known that it was going to be a Texas event, but I wasn't sure that it was going to be effectively an OpTic hosted event. And that's when some of the discussion comes in. But nonetheless, it's looking like a phenomenal venue and location for these guys to put this on. And this was even pointed out here by Ben J. Nassim, who was in some other drama today, and we'll probably have to dive into that in more detail tomorrow because I've got quite a lot else to discuss. But this is a potential venue setup for the stage. They could run it with the stage at one end and then all the fans the other end. And of course, they've also got to find space for challenges. So what they may do is do stage, fans this side, and then, you know, the challenges open with up on the other side. But it is possible to do a 360 stage. These are the things that you see rather rarely, I would say, in esports. From time to time, you do find them. And, you know, I think CS has done it before, like Valorant and, you know, the top esports at their big events, maybe Rocket League, I don't know. But the top events, the real serious esports, sometimes, not always, and I'm not sure it's necessarily the best setup, but you can run 360 stages. It can work, it can be done, and apparently it can certainly be done here at this venue. These are some of the shots. The capacity, by the way, is upwards of like 7,000. So this is what the venue looks like. I don't know how many tickets they're going to be able to sell, but it's the OpTic event. If there's any event that is going to have the chance to sell the most tickets, it's going to be this one here in Dallas. Well, it's kind of in Dallas, but we'll discuss that in a second. This is the venue, and honestly, from what I see, it looks pretty damn cool. So yeah, this is a possibility for the event, and this is actually what it looked like when they held some Overwatch tournament here. So they didn't do a 360 stage then. I don't expect they will, just because, you know, it's never really been done in COD before. The production value this year has, you know, let's say you compare Major 2 in Miami to the last Miami event several years ago in 2019, the playoffs, kind of no comparison in terms of what was actually executed from a stage perspective. So I trust they'll probably do something similar to this. But still, the idea is potentially there. This, however, is your Google Maps situation. So this is, well, we can see Arlington, Texas. We can see the heart of downtown Dallas, which is right about here. And if we zoom in on, where is it again? Slightly north, isn't it? Round about here, Victory Park or something. Yeah, here we go. So this is the American Airlines Center. And this is right next door to OpTic Gaming. Yeah, here's OpTic Gaming. This is where, well, it was Envy before, the Envy headquarters in the heart of downtown Dallas. Don't need to say it again. But yeah, so this is the American Airlines Center. This is where I thought it was going to be. That's where the rumor was, or at least somewhere around here. Like, I think it was meant to be in Dallas. But instead, if we zoom out and we head north up to Allen, this is where you'll find the venue. So here it is. I'm pretty sure, wait, I've missed it. Here we go. Credit Union of Texas Event Center, which is right about here. So it's quite a way out, I'm not going to lie. And I know that in America, you have to drive everywhere, but this has got to be, I mean, with traffic, this could probably be an hour, no? It's something like 30 miles between there and, you know, downtown Dallas. So, you know, maybe not ideal, but nonetheless, it's looking like a pretty damn good venue. Now, the big drama, really, was this tweet from Scrappy, which has since been deleted because he deleted everything. Well, he deleted most things. Some things are still up. We'll discuss those tomorrow. But Scrappy's point of view was on Champs as a hosted event because, look, it's happened before when Champs, for example, in Vanguard was in LA, and arguably it was a bit of a Los Angeles Thieves home event, and of course they ended up winning it. But it wasn't hosted by Thieves, right? It was still a CDL event, whereas this event is OpTic hosted. It's not like 12 teams go as neutrals, and sure, OpTic are always going to have the most fans. That's how it's going to be, and I don't really think there's much in this on my side, just because it's always an OpTic event. It doesn't really matter where it is. It's always OpTic hosted. But, you know, let's say when OpTic would host their own majors, and even the teams themselves host their own majors, they always get the best practice facilities, for example. Like at Esports Stadium Arlington, OpTic would always give themselves the biggest room, you know, the best space, and all the other teams would be chucked into the side rooms to warm up and to practice that weren't as good as their room. And that's just how it is when you host an event. But for the World Championship, there's an argument that it should be a more level playing field, and OpTic, you know, they're not going to get preferential advantage in terms of what the referees are talking about and in the game itself, and they already have the crowd advantage everywhere they go. But, you know, there might be certain things that OpTic can do to give themselves a little bit of an edge. Will they need it? Probably yes. Of course, they haven't, you know, been in a World Championship Grand Final for several years, been since 2017. But if there was ever a time for OpTic to finally get a victory at Champs in the CDL era, surely this is the time. They have arguably the best team they've built in a rather long time. They're looking good against everyone that isn't called Atlanta FaZe. They know what to improve, it seems, to take FaZe down, at least based on their discussions recently. We'll discuss their series tonight here in a couple of seconds. And it's going to be in Texas, not even just a Texas event, which of course would be OpTic favored anyway, as every event is, but it's actually like an OpTic hosted event. So that's kind of what Scrappy's saying. They're finessing, he reckons. But at the end of the day, I'm not sure it's going to make a massive amount of difference compared to what we normally see, because every event is OpTic favored, obviously. But yeah, this is also a new kind of logo. I thought it was kind of nice, actually. CDL Champs hosted by OpTic, where it's going to be. Tickets, of course, available. I know there's some drama as well. Hopefully they can resolve this, because it seems like to buy tickets, you have to have a US registered phone number, and anything else doesn't pass. So yeah, if you want to go from the UK right now, I'm not sure you can, but I'm at least hoping that tickets will be available for quite some time to come. They've seemingly got plenty of seats to fill. So let's dive into these series now. I'll talk about Heretics versus Toronto Ultra tomorrow, but firstly, Subliners versus Ravens. This, honestly, looking at the map sets, the sub base I thought was pretty good for Ravens potentially. Apart from that though, I was very intrigued because New York should have potentially had the maps at advantage as the series progressed. They were looking solid. They actually did finally fix the hill time on the scoreboard. Can you believe it? It's honestly great to see. This was a really close tie game, but already you can see the trend of the series in this particular screenshot where Gwinn is starting to take over. We've talked a lot about Gwinn, and honestly, I'm really happy with the way this series went today. Not even just because it creates some interesting storylines, but also it solidifies a rookie this year as a potential, you know, real star of the league going forwards, right? Because you look at this year's rookie class, right now you're looking at Geo, probably of Vegas, given how they're doing. Linz was right up there at the start of the season, but Rocker and his individual performance have somewhat fallen off. And then you were looking at Gwinn, really. Those were the rookies. And in the last, 10 years, every year pretty much there's been a rookie that has been, almost in the MVP conversation, or certainly a player that would go on to establish themselves as a dominant force. We've seen HyDra, Pred, Shotzzy, Scrappy, for example, among others over just the last 4 to 5 years. And I was wondering, would we get a player like that this year? Would there be a player of that caliber? And sure, given the way the teams are structured, these guys aren't on top teams, but they can still show some performance, and that's what Gwinn did here. He went 32-21 to win the game 1 for the Ravens, and again, like Subliners were slaying pretty hard. I mean, what is this? +7, +4, that's +11, +8, +5, yeah, so outslayed by 5 Ravens and still win. That's a bit of a trend for the Subliners. And then game 2 starts off with a team kill, and I thought, oh my god, okay, this is where this is where the party's over in a way. And honestly, Ravens won this round anyway. They then went up 4-1. It went back to 4-4. And then they took it 6-4. So it was a close Rio, but Ravens got the victory on that search and destroy. And we talked about this before, that it's Ravens' search that has held them back. Their respawn is good, and you look at their roster, and they do have a fair bit to show in that game mode, but it's their search that has been a problem, and, the way they performed today was very impressive. Now, man, this control, you gotta say, these Ravens boys, they gotta find the item somewhere, because, sure, they win this round, and they actually do ice up on this offense to take the victory, but, honestly, could you not see this coming a mile away? I was convinced, to be honest, that the reverse sweep was gonna happen when this occurs, because HyDra pops a 3-piece, and Ravens, all of a sudden it goes from 2-0 to 2-2, and then the Subliners win it 3-2, and all of a sudden I'm thinking, oh my god, here we go. It's the classic ultimate reverse sweep. You go down 2-0 in the control, you win the control 3-2, you win the series 3-2. And it looked like the Subliners were going to do it. Ravens kind of collapsed, I'm not going to lie, and they end up losing 2 offenses of the final 3 rounds. Ravens aren't great at control, and but you know, they did have their chances here, to be fair. They then lose a relatively competitive ReeaL hardpoint, but a map that HyDra especially is really damn good on, and as though the Subliners in general. But fair play to Ravens, because they kept their head together here. There was lots of talk on the timeline, free Gwinn. And fair enough, because going into the final map of the series, he had 103 kills, which was close to the record for the entire season, and he would actually go on to just smash it out of the park. Like, these were the numbers going into the final series, final map of the series, and like, Gwinn was completely doing everything. Like, I've not really seen a takeover like this in a rather long time. And that's the other cool point as well, is that they're in the facility now, right? They've got that facility locked in and set in stone. They're all playing out of it. Of course, I think Brian Sake was saying they had loads of issues today with their internet and their power cables, and there are a few things they were trying to work through, so I guess they didn't have the time to set up the cameras yet, but they are there all in person. And here comes Gwinn, breaks the series record by dominating the start of this search and destroy. And then, just to cap it off, like, honestly, this might go down as the best individual performance of the season from an individual player perspective, because he finds himself in a 1 versus 3 in the round 7 to win the game. He's already got 11 kills at this point, and he clutches the 1 versus 3, just, you know, hits all the bullets that he needs to close out the series. Like, it doesn't get any better than that. And as Brian Saint says, you know, this facility's kind of nice. GG's New York. So you gotta say, and even Clay is kind of roasting them as well, screw the big 4, 1-3-2, because on paper the big 4, but yeah, I don't know, after today you've got to raise some questions on that. Certainly on the Subliner side as well, they can get kills, but their teamwork, their chemistry doesn't really seem to be there. And just real quick, I gotta mention this one because I thought it was kind of interesting. This is Christina, so Priestah's mother, who tweets this out at the time, effectively. Well, the implication may be that she's thinking, damn, you know, you drop my son Priestahh for this, you know, for this. But, you know, we'll see how it trends, to be fair. Maybe when Gwinn plays like this, maybe there's not so much you're going to do. But I definitely think the Subliners are not to the level they need to be at to win an event. Like, this current Subliners team, unless they show me more, like, I don't think they're event winners this season on this evidence. And of course, they've only got 3 more bites of the cherry. But yeah, the numbers for Gwinn were pretty damn mesmerizing, and this was the overall series scoreboard. Gwinn, I mean, the rest of the guys, they had a hard time. 0.8 for Clay, 0.8 for Fellow, 0.8 for TJ. But a 1.47 for Gwinn with 115 kills, highest number of kills of the entire season so far, arguably the highest we are going to see, and HyDra drops 100 for no avail. So the final series I wanted to discuss in this one was from the team that will go on to host the World Championship, OpTic Texas. They played Surge. Again, another slow start for OpTic, and what I was impressed about in some ways with OpTic here is that they did win this map, because I've seen it quite a few times where OpTic will start slow against a team they know they should beat. Then they get a bit frantic, and I think they did that here. Their breaking again is still good, but their holes, you know, over challing. Kenny talked about in the post-game interview that, you know, so many occasions they will run out and die, and therefore all of a sudden they're on the back foot and they stagger and they don't trade properly and they find themselves in a bad position. But they did have the ice to clutch up and win the game anyway. So fair play to OpTic for that one, but it wasn't exactly clean. But to be fair, the last couple of minutes, they did come to play. Pred had some good moments in the water hill, but Shotzzy and Kenny really especially here completely took over the map with 36 kills. Probably shouldn't have been necessary to drop that many kills to win, so something for OpTic to work on. But then we went to a high-rise search and destroy. Not a great map for OpTic, and a good idea, I think, for those guys to get some reps on the map. But wow, this was like an incredibly ugly map of search and destroy. Like, I don't think I saw many good plays here from either team, and this was one example. 0-4 finds himself in a 1 versus 3, gets 1, gets 2. You know, probably Shotzzy was forced to chow that, but he chows it anyway. Pred in a 1 versus 1, and we know that Pred in 1v1s hasn't been the best, and I don't know if it's a confidence thing, and okay, sure, 0-4 just reads him well and absolutely slams him, to be fair, for the 1 versus 3, but not around that OpTic should lose, and Pred actually now has one of the worst clutch success rates in the league so far this season. He's had, you know, he's had 33 clutch opportunities, and he's clutched 2 of those. So his average clutch success rate is the second lowest out of any of the 19 players at 6%. Priestahh was the only one actually worse than Pred. And even Shotzzy's clutch win isn't very good either. Thankfully, Dashy's pretty icy. But yeah, something to be said on that Pred in 1v1s, I think, has a little bit of work to do. I think people would agree if they watch the map. And this was another one that really, like, shouldn't have gone this way. Like, Dashy finds himself at a 1 versus 2. aBeZy just straight up chows him. And then 04 tries to make the play. Dashy actually reads it very nicely here, even though he's not quite full HP. Clutches a 1v2. Nice little one for his birthday. And then, I mean, this is a ridiculous round. Like, I don't even know what to say on this game because it was so outrageous. And I feel like if OpTic played this against a more competent team on high rise, there's no way they win it. But Kenny gets, basically, aBeZy gets a 3-piece with the exploding barrel. He kills Hook, he kills Dashy, and he kills himself. And Kenny gets credited for the kill. aBeZy eventually gets the 1 versus 1. And in the round 11, OpTic get the win after a great play by Shotzzy. I'm not going to lie. Map 1 was probably more Kenny doing the damage, but Shotzzy played very well as well. Map 2, it was Shotzzy that made the play at the end here on to get the kill on Hook that effectively won them the game. And in the game 3, it was a similar story. Like, Shotzzy is just so impactful for this team at the moment. But a quick word for Seattle Surge and their Karachi control. It doesn't seem like RCT's leaving has changed much when it comes down to their control gameplay, because what is going on here? They're on the defensive side, and they just let OpTic waltz into the B point. I mean, we know how this map works. If you cap B, you're going to win the rounds 95% of the time. But no, apparently Surge like, you know what? That's fine. We're going to play the odds, the bad odds. And they just let OpTic get it for free, and they win the game with, like, no contest. Like, I just don't understand what Seattle do in Surge. And maybe 04 rage quit, maybe he lagged out, I don't know. But in the end, it didn't massively matter. I will just say, aBeZy tweets this out because clearly their net was causing them problems. You can actually see it as well on the broadcast. So here he is, trying to run around and, well, skipping all over the shop. Packet burst, not having a good time. Whether this is CDL server related or ping tool related, or whether this is simply they're playing out of Vancouver, then, yeah, I mean, this is rough. Like, this is completely unplayable in this round. I think we saw it for the rest of the game as well. But, you know, unlucky. They weren't good enough. So very much interested your thoughts on all this stuff in the comment section below. Plenty to discuss tomorrow as well. Hit the like button if you enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new. Take care. And I'll see you next time.